And so many in the Black community, if I'm being honest with you, because I want to be, believe that you are being used as a pawn by the right and that you're a charlatan of sorts.
He's not a Republican.
So how do you...
She calls him a charlatan right to his face. Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, and Sunny Hostin are featured in this episode. The lineup is all-star indeed. Surprise, surprise. They're going crazy over the standard woke talking points again. This time, they're sitting down with author Coleman Hughes, who will discuss colorblindness and race. And they are furious with him, completely irate because he dared to write a book suggesting that we do everything in our power to avoid racial bias. Although some might expect a typical woke manifesto, it isn't. And that is exactly what annoyed Whoopi, Joy, and Sunny. First, we'll look at this passage from The View, where they attack Coleman Hughes in his book, only to have him shut them down completely on their own show.
The question that I should ask you to do is explain to folks what you mean by this. Arguments for a colorblind America. What do you mean when you say that?
So a lot of people equate colorblindness to I don't see race, or to pretending not to see race. I think that's a big mistake. We all see race, right? And we're all capable of being racially biased, so we should all be self-aware to that possibility. My argument is not for that. My argument is that we should try our very best to treat people without regard to race, both in our personal lives and our public policy.
Of course.
And the reason I wrote this book, thank you. The reason I wrote this book is because in the past 10 years, it has become very popular to, in the name of anti-racism, teach a kind of philosophy to our children and in general that says your race is everything, right? And I think that is the wrong way to fight racism, and that's why I wrote this book at this time.
I'm sorry, baby. Can I just point out that there is a reason for that? You know, when I went to school, getting any information about anyone's race was not taught. No history, there was no Black history, none of those things were taught.
It is actually better to have no separate Black history, because the idea of Black history already leads to division. Black History, Black History Month, and Black National Anthem are terms that further polarize us. It should all be considered American history. The lack of a distinct Black history in the past was not because individuals didn't matter. Rather, it was because the purpose was not to divide. Certainly not as much as we see today. Consequently, it is better not to have a separate Black past. Furthermore, this has nothing to do with denying that Black people should be honored in history. Absolutely not. The point is that when everything is viewed as American history, we are unified. We're all Americans.
There has been such a pointing of very specific racial things, like women couldn't get into colleges. If you were a Black person, there are a lot of colleges wouldn't accept you. Trying to equal the playing field. I think that's what a lot of folks have been trying to do. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I think that's your experience, and that's valid. You know, as a counterpoint, when I was in 5th grade, we all watched Roots together in public school.
Yeah.
So these are different experiences. I
Yes.
think it's also different generations. It's different parts of the country, right? We have very different cultures all living together in one country. So I'm not going to deny that. But I view this notion of a colorblind society similar to the idea of a peaceful society, which is to say it's an ideal, it's a North Star. And the point is not that we're ever going to get there. We're not going to touch it. But we have to know when we're going forward and when we're going backwards. And we're going backwards when we're doing woke kindergarten in San Francisco. You know, with you didn't hear about the story?
No, but
Wait, because I want to get to the part of the book. You believe that public policies that address socioeconomic differences would be better at benefiting disadvantaged groups, and that race-based policies often hurt the very people they're trying to help. What are some examples of policies that would be better at reducing racial disparities?
So my overall argument is that class, socioeconomics, is a better proxy for disadvantage. We all want to help the disadvantaged, and the question is, how do we identify them, right? The default right now in a lot of areas of policy is to use, Black and Hispanic identity.
By the way, this is blatantly racist. When someone believes they are at a disadvantage just because they are Black, they are ultimately engaging in the white savior mentality. The woke community typically claims to be against that. But here's the irony. They are the white savior. They are the ones who perpetuate racism. They say, oh, you're Black or Hispanic, so I need to help you because I'm superior. That's the mindset. In reality, things don't need to be that way. In fact, this kind of treatment is deeply racist.
To get a better picture of who needs help by looking at socioeconomics and income. That picks out people in a more accurate way.
Not my question, but when you say that socioeconomics picks out people in a better way than race, when you do look at the socioeconomics, you see the huge disparity between white households and Black households. You see the huge disparity between white households and Hispanic households. So your argument, and I've read your book twice because I wanted to give it a chance, your argument that race has no place in that equation is really fundamentally flawed, in my opinion.
Well, there's two separate questions. One is whether each racial group is socioeconomically the same. That I agree with you, they're not.
Yeah, they're not, and the stats show that.
Yeah, of course, I agree with that fully. The question is, how do you address that in a way that actually targets poverty?
Why, for instance, portray everything as a racial issue when it clearly is not? Why not emphasize socioeconomic class or poverty rather than skin color? When it comes to poverty and economic standing, income and opportunity numbers are always more accurate. Not all black people live in poverty. White people aren't necessarily rich. There are wealthy black families and poor white households. So why try to make everything fit into an often inaccurate racial narrative? By focusing on socioeconomic status, we can get the information we actually need without creating division. What irritates me is the insistence of people like Sunny Hostin, Whoopi Goldberg, and the rest of the group on making everything about race. It's not even the most accurate view of the country. If we really want to get it right, we should look at class and status. That is objective, factual, and far less polarizing.
What Martin Luther King wrote in his book, Why We Can't Wait, is he called it, we need a Bill of Rights for the Disadvantaged. And he said, yes, we should address racial inequality. Yes, we should address the legacy of slavery. But the way to do that is on the basis of class. And that will disproportionately target blacks and Hispanics because they're disproportionately poor, but it will be doing so in a way that also helps the white poor, in a way that addresses poverty as the thing to be addressed.
That part is true, but as you are a student of Dr. King, I'm not only a student of Dr. King, I know his daughter, Bernice, right? So I'm going to get to my question.
Go ahead, go right ahead.
I think the premise is fundamentally flawed. You claim that color blindness was the goal.
See how Sunny Hostin always shifts the subject when he presents a perfectly valid point, and she has no counter-argument? He brings up the focus on class, claiming that doing so will help the underprivileged white population, as well as the black and Hispanic communities, who are disproportionately affected. So what does Sunny do? She just skirts the issue entirely. She changes the subject because she doesn't have a real response. She clearly doesn't want to acknowledge the struggles of poor white people, and she dislikes that argument. But she has no rebuttal.
Based upon Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech, content of character versus the color of skin. Bernice, Dr. King's daughter, points out that 4 years after giving that speech, actually, Dr. King also said this: a society that has done something special against the Negro for hundreds of years must now do something special for Negroes. He also said in 1968, it was about less than a week before he was assassinated, this country never stops to realize that they owe a people kept in slavery for 244 years. So rather than class, he did write about that earlier on. Right before his death, he made the argument for racial equality and racial reparations. And so your argument for color blindness, I think, is something that the right has co-opted. And so many in the black community, if I'm being honest with you, because I want to be, believe that you are being used as a pawn by the right and that you're a charlatan of sorts.
He's not a
She outright calls him a charlatan. Just go back and see how Joy Behar reacts. Quickly rewatch that tape to see her reaction to Sunny Hostin's comments.
That you are being used as a pawn by the right and that you're a charlatan of sorts.
He's not a Republican.
So how do you...
He's never voted for a Republican.
You've said that you're a conservative. No, you did. You actually said that in the podcast that you did 2 weeks ago.
I said I was a conservative.
He's not.
This clearly made the other guest on The View uncomfortable. You could see the other host jump to defend Sunny Hostin after she called their guest a charlatan right to his face. It's insane. Just crazy.
But my question to you is, how do you respond to those critics?
Okay, let's give it a
First thing I think it's very important. The quote that you just pointed out about doing something special for the Negro. That's from the book Why We Can't Wait that I just mentioned.
Yes.
A couple paragraphs later, he lays out exactly what that something special was.
Yes.
And it was the Bill of Rights for the Disadvantaged, a broad class-based policy.
But he also says you must include race.
No, he didn't. He says it's
Yes, he does.
Okay, well, everyone should go read the book Why We Can't Wait. Let's not get sidetracked by that.
Yeah.
I don't think I've been co-opted by anyone. I've only voted twice, both for Democrats. Although I'm an independent, I would vote for a Republican, probably a non-Trump Republican if they were compelling.
If you enjoy this kind of content, be sure to click the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. Now let's get back to the video.
I don't think there's any evidence I've been co-opted by anyone, and I think that's an ad hominem tactic people use to not address really the important conversations we're having here. And I think it's better, and it would be better for everyone if we stuck to the topics rather than make it about me with no evidence.
I want to give you the opportunity to respond to
I appreciate
the criticism.
I appreciate it. There's no evidence that I've been co-opted by anyone. I have an independent podcast. I work for CNN as an analyst. I write for the Free Press. I'm independent in all of these endeavors, and no one is paying me to say what I'm saying. I'm saying it because I feel it.
I think it's ridiculous that Sunny Hostin is responding the way she is because all he did was make a valid argument. Why, for instance, must we focus only on non-white individuals, such as blacks and Hispanics? Instead, why not focus on class? That way, poor black and Hispanic people would still receive disproportionate aid, but poor white people would also be helped. So what does Sunny do? She loses her temper and resorts to ad hominem attacks. You're a phony.
So in the past decade, it feels like racial tensions have gotten worse. Do you see it that way, and what do you attribute it to?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at all the data, it finds that race relations were getting better until about 2013. That year, you had majority of Black, Hispanic, and white Americans saying race relations were good, and then you just see it nosedive. And 2013, people like to blame, Republicans like to blame Obama. It wasn't his fault. Democrats like to blame Trump. It was actually just technology. We all got social media and smartphones, and we had videos being promoted in the algorithm that were unrepresentative, and it created this impression that racism was on the rise when in fact it had been on the decline for decades.
And do you attribute that at all to foreign actors getting involved in technology?
Yes, Russia tries to meddle, absolutely, but I don't think we can blame foreign actors. This is a homegrown problem.
Okay. I have a question, because you write that the anti-racism movement, there are a couple of people, I don't even know who they are, maybe
Robin DiAngelo.
Robin DiAngelo,
Yeah.
Ibram Kendi, for instance.
Okay, well, you say that is just another form of racism, and you even say it has a lot in common with white supremacy. How can you compare those two things? You talk
compare
about
them because-
anti-racism, you're comparing it to white supremacy.
Because they both view your race as an extremely significant part of who you are. So white supremacists, they obviously say, we all know what they say, okay? Neo-racists like Rob DiAngelo, they say that to be white is to be ignorant, for example. Well, this is a racial stereotype, and I want to call a spade and say this is not the style of anti-racism we have to be teaching our kids. We should be teaching them that your race is not a significant feature of who you are. Who you are is your character, your value, and your skin color doesn't say anything about that.
Watch as he makes his point and the crowd starts cheering. And Sunny Hostin clearly doesn't like it. Whoopi Goldberg doesn't like it. Joy Behar doesn't like it either. His direct common sense words like, your race and skin color shouldn't be major factors in how we judge people, always get a response. Everyone knows it's true, but oddly, that irritates the hosts of The View, especially Sunny Hostin and Whoopi Goldberg. They don't want to hear it. They refuse to think that way. They cling to this mindset because it allows them to keep race at the center. To be honest, it's disgusting.
Here we go. Thank you, Coleman Hughes, for coming, because this is a show of lots of different opinions, and we are multi-generational.
Diverse perspectives aren't exactly the show's specialty. They all basically hold the same opinion. Honestly, it seems like they're paid to spread this woke narrative. What do you think? The audience, The View's own crowd, started cheering when it became clear that the hosts were upset, and the presenters seemed to turn against Sunny Hostin. The audience, in a way, turned on them. I'd love to know what you think about Coleman Hughes' appearance. Just to cut through all the woke nonsense from Sunny Hostin, Joy Behar, Whoopi Goldberg, and the rest.